Just drop it?
Drop it. We'll see where it hits. It's the story track. And we're here to get your story.
We've seen the show.
Yeah.
My husband would be dying right now.
Really? He's driving away.
Hold on, he'll come back.
Hey, how's it going?
Todd.
Nice to meet you.
I sent you an email.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Christina,
Hello.
I have your dish. The cobbler was fantastic.
Hello.
How are you?
Great.
Good.
What's
So,
happening here?
It's confusing enough when our cameras show up at the door without a dish delivery.
About to be on the street and starving.
When you try your absolute hardest and you do your absolute best, sometimes it's just not enough. And I remember I cried all the way home in the car by myself thinking, I figured it out.
Have you ever struggled financially? Yeah, a lot of people do, myself included. We bumped into a man one time in Bear Lake, Utah, who had really a mind-blowing solution to his financial struggles.
probably looks familiar to you.
Yep. Little slices of the lake.
You've seen the show, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what you need to do? Close your eyes.
Just drop it?
Drop it. We'll see where it hits. Ta-da! It's the story track. And we're here to get your story.
We've seen the show.
Yeah.
My husband would be dying right now.
Really?
Should I call him?
If he wants to tell his story.
And that's where things got weird.
Right now. Yep, get in the car. Just get in the car and come home. It'll take 10 minutes. Are you in a meeting? He's coming. That's him.
And apparently, he wanted nothing to do with this motley crew.
He's driving away.
Hold on, he'll come back.
Hey, how's it
Hey,
going?
Todd.
Nice to meet you.
I sent you an email.
Did you really?
Yeah.
No way.
You responded to me.
Well, that was nice of me. I'm glad I did, actually.
So I miss you. I miss you from the good old days.
Yeah?
Yeah.
From Fox 13,
Yeah.
100 years ago? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's part of his story. He knows every news broadcaster ever been.
Yeah,
Really?
It's true. I do.
Connor did indeed email me back in 2011.
So you ready to tell me your story?
No.
No?
And of course, Connor's wife Amy won't even let us show her face, but she will let us do her deliveries.
Yeah. Really? Yeah.
Say Amy sent it.
Yeah.
And I do not want me on TV.
I'm willing to do my part in the neighborhood, and I won't say this was a complete waste.
I hope you can find somebody that will.
Without your story being on TV, you're getting on our show somehow, in a weird way,
In a weird way, yeah.
by being a fan of the show.
I love your show.
Fate has brought you to our show. Amy, you have to be on the show a little bit.
I'm not in these clothes with this hairdo.
Well, then
No.
we'll blur out your face.
Okay, you can blur it out.
Okay. we're gonna blur out her face. Okay, we'll go to that house next. Christina,
Hello.
I have your dish. The cobbler was fantastic.
Hello.
How are you?
Great.
Good.
What's
So,
happening here?
It's confusing enough when our cameras show up at the door without a dish delivery. But Christina was a good sport.
but they gave us your dish.
Oh.
Said take it back.
And Christina Livingston was happy to do a quick interview.
Yeah, I don't know that I have a whole lot of amazing.
You know how I feel about that. Everyone has a whole lot of amazing. And the Livingstons redefine amazing.
This is our new home here, so
Oh, cool.
yeah, so we're gonna sign papers for that.
Nice.
And so we've just moved in a couple months ago.
This beautiful home is something Christina and her husband Scott thought was unattainable just a few years ago.
This is an amazing upgrade. Living conditions for you guys.
Oh yeah, we lived in a duplex the whole time we were in Bear Lake.
Yeah.
That was 1,100 square feet. And then we lived in the shop and the camper and then the barn.
Scott brought his family to Bear Lake when the economy was great and he needed something different.
So we kind of felt like we were going to go to the rural area somewhere and take a shot at church again.
He started a new construction business, went back to church, and life started to get harder and harder.
My two youngest siblings have cleft lip and palates. And Cameron was 2 and Allie was 3. And they had had multiple surgeries already, and we were drowning in medical debt.
Miranda was a teenager as she watched this story of trials and eventually miracles.
About to be on the street and starving.
The recession's taking our business and our income away.
Scott somehow landed some jobs, but quickly realized no matter how hard he worked, 14, 15-hour days, he couldn't make it work.
I remember coming home and I'd sit in the truck outside the house because I didn't want to go inside. Because I was realizing that when you try your absolute hardest and you do your absolute best, sometimes it's just not enough. In my case, it wasn't even close.
Scott leaned on his new devotion to God and prayed for months without an answer.
Starting to think that you can't leave me here like this. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do.
On one of the countless hospital visits for their daughter's medical procedures, Scott finally got an answer.
Standing in the hall, for some reason there was nobody around. It's because it's a pretty busy place, but there wasn't anybody around. And it was like a bolt of lightning. And it was one word, and all I heard was give.
He pondered on that for a couple of weeks.
We were back down there, standing in the same hallway. You need to give here. As clear as I could hear. I remember thinking, I don't have any money.
But he figured out what he was supposed to do. What was the answer to his prayers? Something that couldn't possibly help his family.
Give. You need to give here. You need to give the best of you. The best that you have to offer. And I'm a healthy guy. I've been sick 4 or 5 times in my life.
So Scott signed up to be what is called a Good Samaritan organ donor. Christina had no idea until after Scott agreed to donate a kidney. How did you feel about that?
I actually really wanted to do it with him. And I felt really strongly that we should do that.
And that's just the kind of people the Livingstons are. But Christina was tested and was not a candidate. Scott learned he was a universal donor.
And that one hit me. Because at that point I knew that that's what I was supposed to do. And I remember I cried all the way home in the car by myself thinking, I figured it out.
Scott went to the hospital 2 days before his kidney would be harvested.
Then she asked me, she's like, so, do you want to meet him? And you could tell that she had a lot of anticipation. And I hadn't even thought for a second about who might get a kidney. This was totally me, totally my problem, totally my solution.
Meanwhile, the recipient, his family, the entire surgical and nursing team was in the other room, hoping Scott would say yes.
So I go in there and there's this 5'3", barely 100 pounds young individual standing there, bawling his eyes out, all choked up and can't believe his day has arrived.
Marco Juarez was a teenager when his kidneys simply stopped growing and then failed. He had been on dialysis for 3 years.
He just couldn't hardly say anything, and I remember all of a sudden I felt like I was 10 feet tall. I hadn't felt like that in years. I felt like I had won the Super Bowl. And so I just grabbed him and I gave him a big hug and I just said, you're gonna be okay, dude. You're gonna be okay. I can do this.
And suddenly it became about someone else, the miracle of life Scott was giving to Marco, who has become a husband and father, and Scott's close friend.
I now started my own little family. I was able to get married. Scott was at my wedding. It was amazing. You know, and now I have 2 children. Just things that I couldn't do back then that I can do now, because I feel like this kidney, like he did, one thing that he did, it changed my whole life.
Marco will never forget the moment Scott walked in that room at the hospital.
I was speechless. I just started crying because here's this man that I don't know that's gonna save my life. You know, nothing was offered to him to give me his kidney. He did it from the bottom of his heart.
But you also had faith that this would help you and your family out somehow, financially.
Yeah, I prayed for a solution to that specific problem, and that's the only thing that came, was go do this.
And that makes no sense.
And it makes no sense. It makes no sense at all.
But spiritual things don't often make sense.
Right, yeah, you can't explain it logically. You know, some atheist accountant could figure out where the money came from based on the jobs that we got and this and that and the other, but I wouldn't have been standing there with the vigor and the tenacity to go for it the way that I did had I not gone through that experience. And that came from God. You know? I have no doubt.
I feel like it's a miracle. I mean, Scott has told me his side of the story and how we kind of met in the middle, you know, after donating, but just the story in general is pretty amazing on, you know, something or hearing a voice telling him to donate. It gives me goosebumps.
My dad's thing is, who is my brother?
And the answer is everyone. Scott says he feels healthier. His family is better off financially. And it's because he did what he needed to do for his brother, a man he didn't know.
It's not about a kidney so much as it's about you probably don't have all the pieces you need to build your puzzle, but you have a few that can fill someone else's. And I think God put us here in such a way that we have to share with each other for this to work.
That includes Scott sharing this story, which he says is more painful than giving a kidney.
You know, the person that I am wants to hide and not say anything, you know, and I really have a hard time. But I'm glad that you guys came here. I think it was a place you're supposed to end up because, you know, it helped me get it out there.
That's the way I always feel, you know. Mm-hmm. These things happen randomly, but it's not random, you know. Oh. I had to bring that dish back anyway.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Incredible story. Incredible man who is full of faith, and one of those things that doesn't make sense, right? But it made sense in the long run, and that was his solution. Scott, I believe, is a grandpa now, and he continues to be full of faith, and Marco is living his life, which is incredible. It's an incredible gift given to him by Scott. Let me know what you think about this story, a unique solution to a problem. Give it a like and please share it with others. That helps us to grow so that we can keep bringing you these great stories. And please subscribe if you haven't yet to this channel, or follow us on Facebook.